got a lot of people who are doing everything they can to call Scoot Henderson or Brandon Miller for Rookie of the Year. No, the Rookie of the Year is Wembanyama, and I'm here for all of it. I'm a believer.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today for this Wind-Up Wednesday, point guard extraordinaire, G. Sumner, champion himself. G, how you doing this morning?
Oh, feeling good, feeling great. Ready to talk about some basketball.
All right, so in segment one, NBA season is now here. When this comes out, we got live games, so we'll talk about that. Segment two, we'll continue to get you ready for the college season. And then segment three, we'll wrap up the WNBA season and preview the women's college basketball season. But first, got to get some early thoughts on Victor Wembanyama. Gee, this guy in the preseason played about 20 minutes a game, okay. Had about 14 shots a game. 5 of them threes, got to the line 3 to 4 times a game, averaged 19, 5 rebounds, and 3 blocks a game. What are your early thoughts on Victor? What do you think?
The hype is real. That's my thoughts. I mean, this is in line with the Kevin Durant, with the Greek Freak as they came into the league. Like, this is the next iteration of that, and I'm excited. I think it's going to be everything has been built up to be. Saw some flashes in preseason so far, but if you got a chance to watch that highlight, just watch the highlight reel from the Golden State game where he's blocking 3-pointers, getting the ball on the fast break, finishing on the other end, pulling up for 3, taking it to the rack. Like, I'm excited, man. Like, I've got a lot of people who are doing everything they can to call Scoot Henderson or Brandon Miller for Rookie of the Year. No, the Rookie of the Year is Wembanyama, and I'm here for all of it. I'm a believer.
All right, so folks, Coach Adams says this kid's going to be a problem. And here's why the kid's going to be a problem. Because at the very worst, you've got a rim protector and a guy that can finish. That is the floor. That is, okay, I can contain and I can challenge and I can get a board or two. At best, you got a guy that can create offense, that can, if you put a guard on him, if he's bringing the ball down the court, he's going to shoot over him. If you put a big on him, he's going to go by him and really cause havoc. Gee, I'm in agreement with you. This kid is going to be a problem, and I'm all for it. And I'll be watching Spurs games for no reason, similar to Colorado football. I'm just watching the game. I'm interested.
There we go.
All right. So let's talk 76ers and Clippers. It's been reported that Daryl Morey was prepared to accept a James Harden trade to the Clippers in exchange for salary room, assets, and Terrence Mann. So now it's come out that the Clippers will not trade Terrence Mann. Ty Lue not only wants Terrence Mann to remain with the Clippers, but he's going to start him, G. The Clippers also said that Mann's versatility and ability to guard multiple positions are the reasons why they're going to play him more and not include him in any trade packages. What are your thoughts on how the 76ers are dealing with Harden and the Clippers' sudden reliance on Terrence Mann?
Honestly, I'm not mad at the Clippers with sticking to their guns on this one. Do I think Terrence Mann, who's the guy in Philadelphia that they didn't want to trade, the up-and-coming 2-guard? He's kind of similar to that, not quite as good. Whether or not he's starter and can give you consistent production at that spot, I don't know. But the James Harden fiasco is a situation I would want to steer clear of. And so unless you can get him for draft picks, I'm not mad at anyone that doesn't want to pull the trigger to bring that into the locker room. Now, how do I feel about the Sixers end? I mean, they've botched everything in that front office for the last 3 years or so. And so it's just more of the same. They're going to have to come off we need to get at least this much. No, you need to just move him, get him out of the building, and let him go. Or even if you cut him, I don't care at this point. Just get him out of the building. Let him go where someone will accept him, and let's see what happens.
Yes, gee, I am in agreement. As our good friend Robert likes to say, somebody gives you the keys, take them. If I'm the Clippers, I'm not messing with it. I got enough problems with trying to keep my guys healthy. And how much better are you really going to be with James Harden? And the West is crazy. So if I'm the Sixers, since I already know there's a cap and a ceiling to where I'm going to be, man, I'm just going to play it out and let him cause me to have him lose his money. So I'm going to say, come to work every day. And if you don't come to work every day, as we do in the school system, I'm going to document that you're not coming to work every day, but you're not going to get fair market value. So you just got to play it. You just got to play
And
it out.
and with Terrence Mann gone, let's say they did take that. Does Russell Westbrook, James Harden work when neither of them are the first option or second option? I just don't see it. I don't like, to your point, I don't see how that makes them better.
And as Morris Day said in Purple Rain, we
Uh-oh.
tried that. Remember?
Ah, a
We
Morris
tried that.
Day reference. Now's the party.
All right. So as we close this segment, fans, I'm going to give you my initial NBA power rankings. Going to have G react to them and see if he thinks coach is right, wrong, or guide me in the right direction. So top 10 initial power rankings heading into the season. I've got Denver, Boston, Milwaukee, Phoenix, Toronto, Lakers, Knicks, Warriors, Spurs, and Minnesota. And the reason why I have some strange teams in there is initially at the beginning of the season, those teams are just going to play. And everybody else is going to go through all of these challenges. And then right around the quarter point of the season, that's when people start going. But heading into the season, these are the 10 that are going to start the fastest. G, what do you think, sir?
I absolutely hate it.
Well,
What did you
talk
just
to
say? Did you
talk to
mention
me.
did you mention the Spurs in your top
Yes.
10 preseason? Have you
Coming into the season, they're going to play well.
have you seen the Spurs over the past couple of years?
Over the past couple of years, yes, but I've also seen them over the past couple of weeks. So that's why I say my initial
Well,
rankings are they're going to come in and play, and people aren't going to know what to do with Wembanyama and what they do. And then, as I've also said to you in my life, film is an incredible thing. And once they get film, well, now then we'll make adjustments. But coming in, this guy's causing a lot of havoc, and they're going to play him some minutes because he's got fresh legs. Same
all
thing with
right.
Minnesota. Minnesota's got their little team, and they're playing well in the preseason. And initially, they're going to come out, and you know how the NBA is. Every year, for the first like 10 or 15 games, oh my goodness, did you see how so and so's doing this? And in reality, knocks on the door, and then all of the people you really talk about start to play around Christmas. That's why that's my initial power five.
All right. Well, I like your top four. Um, Even the Lakers in there. I don't know if they're number 5 right now, but they're definitely in the top 10. I would throw some old favorites like Miami, maybe even Cleveland in there.
I
I'd
got no beef with Cleveland, and they've made some adjustments.
And then to round it out, I'd probably at. Did you say Golden State?
I think Golden State's in there. I think they got them at 6 or so because
Okay.
I got them
All
at
right.
8 because
All right.
Draymond is still hurt.
There we go. So Golden State is in there, and then I'd probably round it out with New Orleans and Dallas or Sacramento.
I do like New Orleans. Shout out to Coach Franchise. We have our unofficial Zion bet. I got Zion in the 65 club, and let's just say he doesn't. So
You believe this year?
I always like Zion.
I like him too. I just need to
He
see him
just
on the
never
court.
plays, man.
Yeah.
I'm disappointed every year. Very similar to Penn State. I get all caught up in it, and then I get disappointed every year. But with that, in segment 2, we'll talk some college basketball. Kind of curious about Duke and the contract extension already. How's that worked out for Carolina? We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
The CKA SAVE Project is an industry leader in advocating for student-athlete, academic, and athletic needs. Through academic and athletic enrichment, the CKA SAVE project is on the forefront of the issues facing 21st century student athletes. As student athletes continue to struggle to find a better balance between academic and athletic success, the CKA SAVE project offers academic and athletic services to support student athlete academic success, including academic skills assessment, academic and athletic consulting, academic monitoring, academic and athletic workshops. For more information or to schedule a free consultation, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. And in segment 2, I have to ask, is it too soon? Duke's men's basketball coach Jon Scheyer has agreed to a 6-year contract extension that'll take him through the 28-29 season. Did they just get there? His new deal comes on the heels of a number 2 preseason ranking and an ACC tournament championship and a 27-9 record. Scheyer is 36. I need his agent. And he replaced Coach K, whose retirement cleared the way for his promotion. They also apparently had Cooper Flagg, from Maine this past weekend in Durham. Scheyer is the only person to win an ACC tournament, both as a coach and a player. He was an All-American. He won a national championship in 2010, and he spent 8 seasons as an assistant before being promoted. The reason why I asked, is it too soon, is it's not like he's going to leave Duke. It's not like he's getting paid pennies on the dollar. But anyway, is it too soon, or is Coach still just the cheapest guy you've ever met?
No, yeah, well, I'm gonna go with the latter on this one. In this case, we do see a number of early extensions. This one takes him up through 29 or maybe 30, I believe. I'm not mad at that. That means his contract was due to be up this year or next year, and with the way he's been able to prove himself in continuing the recruitment of top talent. Which I'm a big fan of Cooper Flagg. I've been all over the Instagram highlights. Man. He can play. And, and so let's go ahead and lock it in. I think Duke kind of had the approach. They had a bunch of options to replace Coach K in terms of former players, but did they want to go the Jeff Capel route or, some of the other proven coaches that have come out of there? No, I don't think so. So they went a different route, but without the long-term deal. So now he's kind of gotten those players in. It's going to be, from what I see, a 2-team race in college basketball this year. So let's go ahead and lock them in.
All right. So I want to get your thoughts, and I'm so happy that I've got you on this week because you played for me. You know how I feel about these things. So Nate Oates, the Alabama coach, has clarified an apparent slight toward former guard Javon Quinterly while speaking at SEC Media Day last week. When bragging about new point guard Aaron Estrada, Oates said the Crimson Tide are a better team when, quote, you don't have to beg your point guard to bring effort every day, unquote. Nate Oates said the comment was intended to pump up Estrada, who is a possible transfer portal standout from Hofstra. Quinterly was a part of 76 wins, 2 Sweet 16 appearances, and played well for him. But apparently, again, Oates is clearly taking a liking to Estrada. What are your thoughts on Nate Oates' comments?
I don't like them at all. I can understand why it would bother you. The idea of talking down on a former player, particularly a point guard, I couldn't imagine it coming from you, Coach. But to see him talk down on a point guard who's been a part of some winning teams, and we don't associate Alabama basketball with winning, but they've been legit over the past couple of years, and Quinterly ran the show. And so I think this was keeping it real goes wrong. He wants to hype up his player and talked out of his you-know-what a little bit too much, and ended up coming off as a hater and disrespectful to his former player. So I would definitely take it as a slight as from Quinterly's perspective. Didn't like it at all.
Yeah, and again, at the end of the day, they're still college students, and we're very mindful that they're not professionals despite everything around them. And maybe that'll change later. But I am always very temperate, very positive in terms of talking about student athletes. No matter what they did, didn't do, how it left, we always try to do things above board. So we got to do better, coach. We got to do better. Finally, in this segment, just like the NBA, we want to do initial Power Five rankings. So, G, here are my top 10 initial Power 10 rankings going into college basketball. Number one, Purdue. Number two, Kansas. Number three, Duke. Number four, FAU. Number five, Houston. Number six, Marquette. Number seven, UConn. Number eight, Tennessee. Number nine, Gonzaga. And number 10, Miami. Before you comment, let me give you just a couple of comments as I think I can anticipate. One, Purdue had the worst loss in the history of basketball. So they got to come back hard. They have to. That's why I have them one over Kansas. And Kansas just lost a player, and we'll just leave that alone. Four is FAU for a reason. They ain't going to play anybody in their conference, so they're going to get a high seed. They're going to win 28 to 32 games. So whether you like them, don't know where Boca Raton is, they're going to be there because most of their losses will come early if they do come. And then once they get into their conference, those grown men are going to beat them 18, 19-year-old kids coming from the cone drills. All right. I like Houston and Marquette because they defend, and they're going to defend every night. And that's going to take them further on the nights that their shots aren't fall. Okay. And then everybody else, I'm just kind of looking at the rankings, and we can go from there with that. Yes, Kansas is probably going to be the number one team, but Purdue's got something to prove after that foolishness. Losing, throw it to the big man. I don't care about your NBA life. I care about winning games now. And if you want to win games now, throw to the 7'4" monster that nobody can guard and keep winning. That's kind of how life works. All right, G, feel better? Tell me your thoughts on my initial power ranking.
I was ready to come in here and roast you up as once you got past number 4, but listening to your explanations and thinking about some of the teams, I'm not mad at it. I don't agree with your stance on Purdue. Purdue is, you mentioned Penn State earlier. Purdue is your college basketball Penn State. Can't trust them. They'll be good. They'll be good. And my God, I wish they'd just throw it to the big man. What's this? This is 6th, 7th year in college now?
Oh, no, I'm not touching that one now. I'm going to leave all of that alone.
But
this is the last of the COVID year, if I'm not mistaken, for everybody, though.
Oh, man, this has got to be it. Like, I've been seeing a lot of 6th, 7th year seniors. But they're definitely a top 5 team. I think Michigan State ends up being the best team out of that conference. But Purdue could end up winning the Big Ten and then, win 1 or 2 games in the NCAA tournament. I do like Marquette. I like what they do on the defensive end. I think it'll be interesting to see UConn come back. I'm looking forward to see, how that team, they kept most of the team together, got good coaching there. So I like them. Ultimately, it's a Duke Kansas show this year.
see how we got through all of that, fans.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's give them all their credit and talk about what we're looking forward to see. But we know where this is going to end up. I don't want to hear about Gonzaga. We know what they're going to do. Tennessee is interesting, but kind of in the same ilk as Purdue. And so there's some good teams out there. This year, there are actually 2 great teams that I think will separate themselves from the pack, unlike last year.
And fans, I will be in Phoenix with Point 5 at the Final Four. It has been too long. Ticket? I never go to the game, G. You know that, because they're playing basketball in a football stadium. That's not the environment that I want, but I will be sure if you send me the money to bring you home a T-shirt. And with that, fans, when we get back, when we get back, we'll talk about the WNBA champions, the LA Ace, the Las Vegas Aces, as well as our thoughts on, did the Liberty do business the right way? We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fowler and Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3. We are the champions, and my man G. Sumner called it on the nose. The Aces joined the Houston Comets, and the Los Angeles Sparks is the only franchise to win multiple championships in a row. They closed out their title run despite being without their point guard, Chelsea Gray, and starting center, Kia Stokes, who both suffered injuries in Game 3. They are the first team in WNBA history to win a playoff game without multiple starters from the previous game. They did it, and they're close. And it's so great to have you on because I've often said, fans, that G's team, who won the state championship to this day in my 30-year coaching career, are the closest group of student athletes I have ever seen in my life. Las Vegas kind of reminded me of their crew. Gee, it's okay to gloat. What are you thinking, sir?
I told you so. Nah, just joking. But yeah, I think this writing was on the wall. You could see it throughout the season. They were clearly the two best teams, but except for the couple of games in the middle of the year where New York absolutely blew them out, Aces were head and shoulders above everyone throughout the season, and that's how the series played out. Even when people went down, ultimately your MVP, your true MVP, was the MVP, and they took care of business. They were the best team coming in, they were the best team going out, and they executed. And so I am a little disappointed in given how the WNBA has improved with television and ratings and exposure and just improving the game. The strides they made this year, I would like them to improve on the scheduling next year. Mm-hmm. Sunday games during football season, that's not going to be your answer. And we're waiting 3-4 days in between games. So there's some areas of improvement and growth there in terms of your scheduling. But all in all, great season for the WNBA. Let's try and get more than 2 teams in the race next year. But good season, and congratulations to the Aces.
All right. So now, G, I've got to ask you your thoughts. Stay classy. Last week, the WNBA fined the New York Liberty $25,000. Probably a player's salary as cheap as that.
Yeah, my goodness. They ain't got that.
After some of their players declined media interviews following the team's loss to the Las Vegas Aces. Liberty players Sabrina Ionescu, Jaquel Jones, and Benaya Laney were also fined $2,000 each by the league for turning down media requests. According to WNBA rules, each team's coach and 2 players must attend a post-game conference, and additional players requested. The Aces were not fined, however, because several players crashed the post-game news conference and briefly sang a song with the MVP, but then they resumed the conference. So, G, what do you think about the Liberty and their post-game no-shows? Any thoughts?
Well, first, I'm gonna comment on the little aces in their post game. That was not a press conference. That was like VIP at the club. They got bottles popping, they singing, they doing all types of stuff. They were partying. That was not a press conference. In terms of the Liberty, no issue with the WNBA issuing fines. It's the policy. It's what you got to do. Honestly, no major issue with the Liberty. I've seen it in all types of sports, and so I'm not going to get on them too much here. Yes, it is not the sporting thing to do. Could have handled the loss with a little bit more class, but I understand salty losses. You talk about my state championship team that won the championship my junior year when we went out and lost to Churchill in the first round. I sat and watched the cool kids cry in the locker room and not have a word to say to anyone. A couple people walk up into the bench. So I've seen losing take bad form. And so I'm not mad at the Liberty, just wish they would have handled it a little bit better.
All right. Well, you go, girl. To quote a Martin reference, I'm on the dated references. Angel Reese has been doing her NIL thing, and now she has officially signed a Reebok shoe deal. Love the Reebok question. The question. That was it. That was Allen Iverson's shoe. Was one of the shoes that I really liked. Reebok is relaunching with Shaquille O'Neal being president of basketball, and Angel Reese will be clearly leading the way. My question, though, G, is if your school has a shoe deal with Nike or Adidas, can that kid, go against that? That's something to research. Maybe I'll put 0.5 on that. But what do you think about Angel Reese helping to revive Reebok, which I loved as a shoe? I can't lie. I love that question.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I looked in the when I got the news that Shaq was brought in as the president. I absolutely loved the move by Reebok. Shaq and Iverson were the only things notable about Reebok post 1995. So to go back and try to revitalize the basketball program through the people that have been good to you is a good move. And the very first move Shaq makes is going back to the alma mater and grabbing the best thing out of there. So I love the move for him. I like the move for Angel Reese, kind of, going against the grain. But your question is one I never thought about. I didn't think about. There's no college basketball team out there right now with a Reebok sponsorship. And now you got an NIL athlete who likely has a Nike or Adidas contract representing Reebok. That's awkward. I've never
And
seen
remember
that.
Mike with the
Mike with the flag
with the
over it.
flag on.
Oh my gosh, you're gonna have to do it every game with
I
that
don't know,
logo.
man.
I've never
Again,
seen that before, so that'll be interesting. This new NIL world, we're always gonna run into problems. We don't know what we don't know yet because there are certain
yes.
problems we haven't come across. So that's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out. But the move itself, I loved it for both sides, and congratulations to her.
All right. So, G, how do we take this? Because we're never mad at somebody who gets the bag. That's not who we're mad at. But Orlando Magic assistant Nate Tibbetts was named the new coach of the Phoenix Mercury. The deal makes Tibbetts the highest paid coach in WNBA history. Tibbetts is a respected longtime NBA coach, including being assistant at Portland and Cleveland over the past decade. But I don't believe he has any experience in the women's game. I know Phoenix, the Mercury have gone above and beyond. They're trying to build a new facility. But what are your thoughts about this guy being the highest paid WNBA coach in the history of the league?
Well, I know his background. I don't necessarily know about him. And so I think the guy is a hell of a talker, a hell of a salesman. I don't know how you talk yourself not into the job, but into being the highest paid coach in the history of the sport. I know, knowing the women's game the way I do, um, I know there are a lot of women who will be put off by this because they want to see that go to female coaches. They're not against male coaches in the game, but they would have liked to see that distinguishment go to maybe a Becky Hammon who joined the league from an
Who won
NBA
two
team,
titles, by the
who
way.
won a couple of titles. So, I think that will have some resentment on the end of the female personnel involved with the league, but ultimately the highest paid player slash coach is an ever changing thing that will always be built upon the following season or within 2 seasons. So he's just the next big contract. Hopefully the next one goes to a female coach. That's what I'll say.
All right. Our initial women's college basketball power rankings should be the thing with the women's game versus the men's game is it kind of just stays to the higher powers, so to speak, where the men's game is more open and fluid. The women's game tends to stay strong with the, top 10. So let's go with LSU 1, Iowa 2, UConn 3, South Carolina 4, Ohio State 5, Utah 6, um, Tennessee 7, Texas 8, Notre Dame 9, and I'm going to be a homer and put Maryland at 10. And that's just initially, and I'm a homer, and I like Maryland just because.
I like Maryland.
Any thoughts, G, on my initial power rankings?
I'm
It's going
good
to
with
be
it.
kind of chalk talk with that.
Yeah, I mean, like to your point, the women's game, I go back to the late 80s with it, and each of those teams built 4-year runs, whether it was Tennessee with Shamika Holesclaw, UConn with Rebecca Lobo. You get those stars and you're dominant for 3-4 years. And what you see in the standings is normally what you see at tournament time. So the top 4 in your rankings are my top 4 teams. I'd probably LSU is the champ, so they're number 1. But hey man, I like my girl out in Iowa, so I'm rooting for her to get it done. I like that her and Angel Reese are back. I think that's one cool thing about the women's game as opposed to the men's game is it's usually a better option to stick around, particularly with the NIL nowadays. You're in no rush. Angel Reese is making more in college than she will as a
Yes, she is.
WNBA
Yes,
athlete.
she is.
So go enjoy it. Try to win those titles. But yeah, that top 4, LSU, Iowa, UConn, South Carolina, that's what we're going to be looking at.
And I do like Virginia Tech too. I just put Maryland at 10, but I do like Virginia Tech as well. All right, finally, Arn Anderson is one of my favorite wrestlers. And his contributions to the business are often overlooked because he was around much more flamboyant people. I kind of feel the same way about Andre Iguodala. Andre Iguodala is a 4-time NBA champ with the Golden State Warriors, and he announced his retirement last week after nearly 2 decades in the league. In 19 seasons, he averaged 11 points, almost 5 rebounds, and 4 assists in 1,231 games. He was an All-Star once in 2012. He was a gold medalist, world champion. And one of the things that I appreciate about him most is he turned down a 5-year deal with the Nuggets in 2013 because the Warriors were a better fit. And as a sacrifice financially, he ended up being a champion. In my Find a Balance book, I talk about the difference between difference makers and role players. There are more role players than difference makers. And once you know your role, you can make a difference. I'm sitting here looking at a guy who sacrificed for the greater good to win a championship. So I wanted to take the time to salute Andre Iguodala on a great career and being a model in terms of how can we win and what can I do to help us win. G, any thoughts before we close?
I mean, to your point, the best thing he ever did was accepting that contract with Golden State because Andre Iguodala was an All-Star. I think he got 3 or 4 All-Star games before he got to Golden State. You remember Philadelphia, Andre Iguodala, he was an absolute menace. And he didn't just accept less money to go to Golden State. He agreed to come off the bench because they had drafted all of these players. They drafted Steph, Clay, Draymond, and Harrison Barnes to play the 3. And so he was the starter on that team. Andre Iguodala won in finals MVP as the 6th man on that team. And so, just tribute to his will, doing what he wants to do needs to do in order to win. And he never played outside of himself anywhere he was at. So yeah, just salute to him on a great career. Is he a Hall of Famer, Coach?
He's a Hall of Very Gooder, sir.
There we go.
He's a Hall of Very Gooder.
All right.
Yeah, he's a very good player, but don't get myself started on the Hall of Fame. If you've looked at the last couple of years, we're like,
Well, I was always disgusted in the Hall of Fame because Chris Webber just got in a little while ago, and yeah, Andre Iguodala can't be a Hall of Famer until my guy Rasheed Wallace is a Hall of Famer.
Well, now then, we appreciate everybody's contribution. So on behalf of my point guard, Gene Sumner, I am Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care. And yes, I'm still petty about Chris Webber. We'll talk about the Bowie State practices at some other time. Enjoy your week.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org.
We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.